everybody. Welcome to the Shetland Library. We're here tonight for the launch of James Sinclair's book, Sheeksin, his new volume of poetry. It's about 3 years since you launched the last volume in here, isn't it? Yarnin. So we're yarning a newer Sheeksin in the library. So this is we've got a small, we're going to do Facebook Live tonight, so hopefully there's folk already watching online. We've also got a small invited audience here, a small rowdy invited audience, so which is a lovely, lovely thing to have. And thank you very much for coming. Welcome, everybody. We're going to start with some music, and we're going to start with music from the great Doll Vandal. So I think that'll be enough for me, and we'll just move over to and say welcome, Donald.
Right, I need to make sure I'm standing in the right place. I'm okay. Turn my face to the sea. I feel winter in the wind. I feel good to be free, ready to begin. I feel in my coat for a note that is no longer there. Here's some words I spoke when I already no longer care. Come to an end. I'm leaving the dawn.
Now then, this has been a while in coming, and you're never sure if you're going to launch a second book or no, but the library has pulled through in me yet again. That had quite a few nights reading in here, and they've been good to me. They have this great thing called Baths in the Bog, where they put poems in our toilets, public toilets throughout Shetland, and it's a great way of getting into poetry because you're crap. And they're always been good to me because I've had 2 or 3 poems published like that, and this is the latest one for the latest round of Bards in the Bog. Changeable. Obliteration of rain for the suddet. The wasterly swell bracks over the banks, and southeasterly gales laboring was down to the ground. Helly puckles flee in for the nor'easter, cold and dry wi' a drought for the nor'west. No apparel wind to be felt, still and calm. Lochs lie in sheets of polished glass. Dying. A glank of light spears through the clouds. Old Jamaica is about to make his comeback. The sea lying like a suit of bitten silver armour. Gie it half an hour ony day, and you'll get the weather you're after. Well, here is the new book, Sheeksin, by James Sinclair. And that's kind of continuation on for you, and there's a few different things in there. I have 3 or 4 monologues in it, and there's haiku in it, and there's some of my translation cum interpretation of the Fox poems. So it's a bit of a mix here, but I hope everybody finds something they'll like in it. I got my dialect I got from my mother. Well, although she's lived in Lerwick 50 odd years, her dialect's as strong as it ever was. In the forthright way she says it, I've inherited that as well, which is okay sometimes, and maybe not quite so okay other times. This is the first poem in the book. I actually wrote it on National Poetry Day at work. I jotted it down on a bit of paper beside the computer. My line manager was not impressed. But no, it took me 10-15 minutes anyway. All the best ones usually do. Winder. Out there, rolling back and forth to the heartbeat of the ocean. A light, sap-tasted breeze to ruffle your hair into clear, stark tides of gathered up brook. Where the horizon stretches fore and aft, port and starboard, we neither land or sail in sight. And you look up at the lift and lost the poorest speech. It's then that I get a grip on how far the mind might travel. This next poem is actually Scottish Poetry Library said it was one of their favourite poems of 2019, which was a tremendous honour, I must admit, because I didn't know anybody actually even write it through there. But it's a story about Russian convoys in the Second World War and the herd ships involved with that. Murmansk. I mind was lying off Borough, waiting for the tide to turn, for the ebb to come, so we could shut and tow back out the Vaux, for the engine heading the muffled pista. It was our Perry, and you could hear the groan when the wake came on. Standing at the lee of the willows, we smoke at fags and swap at yarns. If Johnny was in the right frame of mind, he would tell us some of his wartime tales. All that years until the convoys, the men and cargoes he sailed with. But the most frightening, he said, was the Arctic convoys. They sailed Italian frozen waters of the Barents Sea. We nae hope of rescue. U-boats, aeroplanes, and even time the battleship Scharnhorst chased at them. The worst of the lot was the weather. Great muffled waves set to swallow you whole, and the snow and frost biting until your veins. How they would tack it in 12-hour shifts, sharpen the ice up with shovel and axe for the handrails and struts, only where it might gather, and then sweep it out the scuppers. He minded them getting torpedoed in the White Sea. It blew the bull clean off. The bulk's head he held for, and they limped into Archangel, where she was lashed to the pier, and might still be there yet. Lowry gave a shiver, and Geordie bit his arms about him. The skipper stuck his head out the Willow's window, saying, "In York are winning the war Arbery's Hill, Johnny. Build out the Dynard the side, and let us get a shot in before the darkening comes down." There's 3 or 4 translations that other folks works in here, but they're almost more interpretations as translations, because I've tried to put a Shetland angle on all of them, so they're maybe not just 100%, but I tried to stay as close to the poems as I could. And this is a poem by Jacky Case about the blues singer, Bessie Smith. The Red Graveyard, after Jacky Case. There are some stains that open like floors of the night, down in the red graveyard where Bessie haunts her lovers. There are stains that shack and greet at a hurt hall of night, down in the red graveyard where Bessie haunts her lovers. Why do I mind the blues? I'm 5 or 6 or 7 in a Quail Yard. The skylight is to the back. Her voice is slow motion through a summer mull dance. Jelly roll, kitchen man, sausage roll, frying pan. Inside the house where I used to be myself, her voice clydes the rooms, and a behind as well. Something has altered the ship of my silence. Why do I mind her voice and know me ain midders? Why do I mind the blues? My midder's voice, what was it like? A flat stain for skiting, an old rock, lang gusts, terry rods, wind, hail, cotton, linen, salt, treacle. I think it was a peach. I heard it down to the ribbit stem. I'm coming down the stair in Werfolks. I'm 5 or 6 or 7. There's fat, thick wallpaper. I aye round my fingers or bumping floor into floor. She's singing. Did they ever play anybody either? My father's feet tap a shiny bit of the floor. Christ almighty, says my father, she has some voice. I pick up the record cover and knew this is slow motion. My hand swoops and glides, swoops again. I gather up the cover and my fingers are all over her face, her murret face, her splendid murret face. Yet some voice, his shoes dancing upon the floor. There are some stains that open like floors of the night, down at the red graveyard where Bessie haunts her lovers. There are stains that shack and grate in the hairfall of night, down at the red graveyard where Bessie haunts her lovers. Now then, I've gained, some folks say I've gained a new talent in this past 3 years. I got into writing for theatre, and it's something Diane signed me up for Grace Burns' class. The first one was the day after Uphill Yard, and I thought, what's he doing you? And so I barely made it to that class. But I soon saw that the way I write and the voices I work with isn't unlike what they write in the theatre, and I really found it a lot easier than I thought. So we've been doing a lot of theatrical meetings through Zoom or Locking. But this was a series of monologues for the Pitlochry Theatre. They had a lot of actors at the beginning of the lockdown and they had nothing for them to do, so they got writers from all over Scotland to write pieces for them. And so here's one of mine. The Secret Fishing. Dinna do tell us all. This is between me and Dee. This is the walk I take each day. That's the only exercise I get. Wandering around the loch and back to the house. It's great to watch all the migrating birds. They hae no idea what's going on. I even saw 2 hedgehogs the other day. I like to watch the weather. It's changing all the time. And the way it looks upon the water. The thing is that I like to fish for the trouts. And it's binding them. With this lockdown going on, you can't chance it. No, for all the platoons, curtain twitchers, and brigades of binocular lookers, they'd grass you up in a minute. They would. Last week, the police were along the old fellow next door, just because he's seen his dugout twice in a day. You couldn't mark it up. Well, they're not going to catch old Gypsy boy here. They be damned. I'm too clever by half for them. Anyway, just when have you ever seen 12 fishermen? Or Andrew? I haul it in as quick as I can and stick it till my pocket. I'll sort out the buckle when I get to the house. Well, the other day, I got me a trout, a beauty, and what a fecht he pat up. When I got him to the shore, He was a pure bar of gold. I held him until my hands for a minute, and you could feel his heartbeat. Then I pat him back in the water. Ate him? You must be joking. The dump used to be out in there. Yes, yonder, where they're big at the new school. There are more heavy metals in the water here than at an Iron Maiden concert. Now, I'm going to hand you over to a very talented lady. Barbara Fraser is going to come up and tell you what she thinks.
Thanks very much, James. James actually chose something kind of like somebody, so I hope you'll enjoy this two pieces. The first scene takes place in me and Croft House in Galway. Normally I hear fairly idyllic life there, but we had the odd problem crops up, and this was in at that time. Before I start, I want to say a special thank you to Terry Atkinson and his lovely dog Amy at come to visit me just at the right time to inspire this story. So here we are. It's called Invasion. There was nothing unusual about the start of that week. Sunday was the day I took a big bag of firewood into the house to light the firewood till next Sunday. Nothing unusual at all. Even when I found a dead moose upon the kitchen floor the next morning, I was just vaguely surprised that he should have come into the house this time of year. After Adine wins in, it's usually at the hairst time. Anyway, I just bailed him out to the nest and cries to feed the babies on, and thought no more about it. That was until Friday, when I was one nearly to the bottom of the bag of wood and found the remains of a moose nest. Oh well, I said to myself, yon was a fully grown moose, so if he did come in with a bag of wood, the Edrines must already have gone their separate ways. I was soon to find out where at Lessine was migrated to. That night I was watching Coronation Street, and when I turned on the sound for the adverts, I was aware of an unholy racket coming from inside the sofa. That went on for several nights, and then suddenly there was silence. Good. I must have starved him into moving on, I thought, for I was religiously putting away every morsel of meat. My kitchen was never been so tidy. Or maybe the cat was guarding them and eating them this time. She doesn't usually. But I was been flipping away her dish as soon as she was finished eating, so maybe she was hungry. And then the next morning there he was, dead. Well done, Puss Puss, I said, as I sat down her favourite breakfast of minced turkey, and then ate it to the most of the growing hungry cries. We'll surely have peace now. And we did, till the morning Terry came along with his dog Amy. She immediately told me, in no uncertain terms, that there was still something living in the sofa. I bowed to her superior judgment. After all, she had far more experience of the criminal underworld as I did. She was been an extra in recent episodes of the TV crime drama Shetland. Terry listened sympathetically as I told him about the bag of wood and the moose nest. But if I expected him to offer words of comfort and reassurance, I was to be sorely disappointed. Funny you should speak about mice, he said. I was watching this documentary, and they said 2 mice, living in optimum conditions, could produce over 20,000 descendants in a year. Optimum conditions? Well, if my sofa has no optimum conditions, I don't know what is. It's a moosey palace. The met as many rooms as the Queen has in Buckhouse, for I and bedding. And warm too, right next to the stove. We a constant buffy a catmate, but I was been lulled into a false sense of security and started leaving the cat split out again. Terry's words continued to haunt me. Produce over 20,000 descendants. I wasn't heard her again, but it was met because she was already started about the 20,000. Was she lying low, not in the first batch? And then there was a sinister development. I rose a morning to find a slimy slug trail outside my bedroom door. But the strange thing was, there were no tale to show where he was come fae or where he was gone. Just a circle of slime up on the carpet. A scary thought struck me. I was being that careful I shut in the kitchen door, but was the moose somehow gotten through, carrying the slug and eating them. But mice doesn't eat slugs, though, do they? But what about a pregnant moose? Would they maybe have the same strange cravings as some pregnant humans? You Spanish slugs that I hear in the garden is massive though, easily half the size of a moose. Could she really eat a whole one? She could. I wish if she was eating for 4, half a dozen. Day. I didn't hear a clue for many babies a moose had. Terry's voice again. Over 20,000 descendants. Well, in that case, I thought grimly, she'll not be here just one, or even twins. That's when the nightmares started. I would see the bedroom door open slowly, as if being pushed by some colossal weight. Then the first moose, a great monster dressed as Napoleon, would appear. And the massed ranks of hunting would advance on my bed, an endless river of them. And Terry standing at the door with a clipboard, counting them in. Counting them in with his arms going like rotor blades. 18,423, 18,424. The advance party climbed up the side of my bed, and I would walking just as Napoleon reached my mouth. It took me 2 or 3 minutes to open my eye and really believe that there were no Terry, no clipboard, and no mice. And then, miracle of miracles, a morning I came through, and there was a dead moose. I picked up the cat and cuddled her. Brilliant, I said, it was a genius. And I opened a tin of salmon for us both to celebrate. And that was it. No more mice. I could look forward to my holiday now. 20 days with my son and his clever daughter's graduation. Whereas this was craft sitting here, and I wouldn't even have to mention mice to them. I sang as I did the morning chores before I left. Made sure everything was packed, checked what time the airport bus would, and was just leaving when I thought I heard a squeak for the sofa. I slammed the door and fled for the bus stop. No, for the second piece. The second piece might sound like exaggeration, but I was brought up in a craft where we did a lot of physical hard work, and we needed refueling accordingly. 2 things crosses my mind looking back. I can't think for me made ever had time to do anything I did for by feeding us. And the second thing is, I'm that surprised we're still living. After filling ourselves with a killer trio of sugar, salt and fat. Anyway, here it is, the crafter's diet. In the days of my youth, we would neither this diet and we ate what we could every day of the week. When we took off a hug, and I was the fattest in, they would neither this nonsense about healthy lean meat. Our morning would start with coarse biscuits for blacks, half an inch thick we climbed them with butter, and Mam kerned yesterday for our Shetland cow's milk. Here, Nethereen, you'll never taste better. Every craft had a grace, and not camping they were, to see where Zine would put down the mist ply. They still speak about Tammy's 400 waiting, and the burst that they had getting out of the sty. With the grace started down to last for the season, where breakfast was I get great dads of fried pork, with 2 muckle dew cakes just swimming in fat. Man, that fairly strengthened you for your day's work. We're out for 12 hours in the pits or the rig, then in for a leavenses, black Fanta again. We had brownies and butter and bannocks and jam, and if we still needed more, Mam opened the tin. Where then there was soup full of taddies and leaps, and sad mutton sliced thick with the fat ripping out. We had a pudding, semolina and rhubarb, or a great muckle duff boiled for hours in the clout. It didn't seem long till Mam called was for 3 o'clock. She was made with a ginger cake, bonny and brown, and the table was hipped with pancakes and bannocks, with jam, syrup or butter to help it slip down. We out hard after that and finished the dining. If the shop then was being we kent what we'd hae, for Mam would buy sesame, black puddings and onions, and fry them up with eggs for our tea. We're out for some more with the fine summer nights, then came in for 8 o'clock, a great spread again. I went the buns for the van with the sugar on top, and eens with thick icing and stuffed full of cream. When summer came round, we had plenty of time to eat at our leisure, for the work was our own. We had cheese, canned milk, and fresh fish for the ealer, and a swash of fresh milk to wash it our down. So it's literally no wonder I'm a bit overweight, and they say that my heart's not as good as he might be, but the rest of me's fine, healthy kidneys and liver, and bits of my een might make other folks see. So I'm lying in this ward next to Laurie a sitter. His heart is A1, for he's never proved fat, but the rest of him is buggered. Was it worth it, I wonder, to live without butter and roasts and all that? He told me he's waiting, but didn't say why, till I happened to notice the way that he stares. For up above my bed is a notice that says, Herr Dokterly knackered, just bracken for spares.
Well, thanks very much, Barbara. That was fantastic. I never just laughed too much over a while. This poem I wrote after I'm getting to drop up the Bray one day, fine summer's day, sun shining on that, and I got to thinking of the Summer of Love in 1967. And how that must have been just the most amazing events ever. And then I thought, well, I wonder what Shetland was like in the summer of 1967. And that kind of gave me the idea for this poem. Summer of Love. The summer of 67, free love and free tout. Our skipper whispered neither, as we lay at the back of Musa, night after night, shutting and hauling, shutting and hauling, for barely a knock to take a fry in. There was the muckle love aboard, mine shergin at een and another. The summer of '67, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and Pet Soons. The parties I got to either had a fiddle in the corner, or Hank Snow and Jimmy Shand on the gramophone. And as for caftans and nudie suits, it was the Smoky for your lad and the Fair Isle Gansey or otherwise. There were no opportunities to smoke joints and drop acid. We hiked the MacDo with Red Embassy and half a bottle of Ushers. The summer of '67 might have been the summer I fell head over heels for the bonny Helen. But sure he had eyes for Lowry John, and he had it all, the looks, the money, and the car. As far as I could make out, he was full of his own personal importance. And he night outside the planets, I telled him that Sam. And after he'd knock at the living daylights out of me, she'd get home with him anyway. Now then, I've already gotten into trouble for writing this poem. For the bad ending. And I'm in a bad place for this as well. It's really a book about salesmen and how you get hoodwinked by good salesmen. But, a lot of hooses here would have had the Encyclopedia Britannica in it. It's kind of like the one item that could be seen for space in the 60s. Took up about half a house. Anyway, here we go. Encyclopedia Britannica. Here we goes, he said. The whole set of Canaan, the complete works, all thing, don't ever need to king. I thought there was a lot of book learning among it, and it came to the most immense size. I would hit a backstrap the wall before I nailed this up the shelves that had it all. He had all this fancy wording, speaking of this scientist and that professor, and what they had to say about all the unkins of the world and what lay beyond. So I says to him, it sounds too good to be true. He would certainly help our bairns with our schoolwork, but full muckle pair when I had to lay by. And you had to mind that we were poor crofting folk. Prinking his moustache and rubbing the comb through his wheels slashed head of hair, he looked at me straight in the eye. For you, it would be easy, 2 or 3 shillings a month over the next 60 months. And think just how clever it would make you all. I asked this man if this books could tell me the best rig for drawing ollocks on, the right tides to set a trutty net in the bow. I wondered if this learning would make me any smarter at reading the signs of the clouds to tell me whether to expect a blaw for the southwester or a muffled plump of snap for the norther. He just sneezed at the puppy, lifted his shoulder blades and opened his lips with his hands. For all that, I signed on the dotted line. For the bairn's sake, you understand. where bairns have lang gone their ain ways. As for the books, we looking at them half a dozen times. For years they held up the corner of the workbench of the shade. But I'm sitting here making good use of them. We're ripping them up and building them up in the fire on the starvation of a winter's night. They do fairly warm your teas. Now it's a really exciting times in Shetland. The whole space race has come to Shetland, and I think everybody's quite excited to see how far this develops. And so it'll give me an idea for this poem about the new type of Shetland man, the crofter, fishing and astronaut. Space Cadet. Willie the Verdict is a bairn watch the stars glittering in a lift of a frosty night, and wondered what was out there in the murk. It was the only town to tell his head. He drew pictures of aliens and spacemen, tried to big rockets in a born out of washing machines, fridges and crashed cars. He said he was the first to be launched, and folk didn't doubt that, for they thought he hadn't the wit to be fair. Then day, some mad professor decided Unst would be the perfect place to big a rocket launch pad. And Willie said to him, I'm your man. So he rigged to tell his tinfoil suit and breathing apparatus and climbed until the capsule. He shouted all the time, I'll be seeing you, bairns. They couldn't it down for time to one. And off he good, with sick a rumble and a roar, reek and flames scuddering everything around. And as he good by the moon, Willie gaffed on the radio, for he wist the blide. On by Jupiter and the rings of Saturn, and out a radio contact he flew and flew to a good king's war. Maybe he's burling around Orion's belt, looking for some way to put down, and here look around. Whatever would it out, a boy for the verdict. But then again, think on. It's no where you start, it's where you wind up. Now then, the last piece of this book is a poetic sequence about the Quail Ship Diana and her getting stuck in the Greenland ice in the 1860s for over our winter. There was a lot of shipping mine on it. It's quite fascinating because the doctor that was aboard actually kept an account to it, and it's a book, and that's kind of where I got the idea from. But it is a complete piece of fiction. So. And it's 14 poems held together by 14 haiku, 3-line poems. It's kind of, the haiku are kind of narrating the rest of the poems, and they're read through the voice of a corby, a raven. And I'll read you a couple. This is one here, I'm chasing the whale, and the last thing, when he's kind of reflecting on another thing that's gone before. Don't thou shut thee knave, I'll just bide me time, for do fade, do waken. Sheeksin were prey, Over the side we good, setting our asses upon the taff, a well-practised shift with the boat here, and we're off, sliding the oars of the water. Shetland men will went with a pole and peg, bitten we're fit upon the tilfers to keep time, as we slap it and grip at the water, time and time again. Like feet skipping to the fiddle player's tune, first the two-step, back-step, down the fuller reel, making ground all the time with a swing and a lift. Down where lugs could mak out the bracket air, the spout of wind. The killer stood stock still in the forecastle, slip and go his harpoon, we wang practice swing. The barb was gone, coils of rock jumping out of the locker amidships. A yell, we're fast. The skipper, in one easy move, turned the bite upon the cleat and sat back at the tiller, hiding tight. The rock gave a sneer, tacking a dunt and took the boat with bracken twal, as it spang bar tight. We made full tilt as we were towed flat out, skeeting out of control across the water. Then we roar. We dug our oars to the water, slamming on the brakes. And though we heard not a peep, I shivered with a silent skirl, minded a sail filled with a gale suffering. Don't you dare turn thee back. It'll be the last thing you does, croaked the Corby. Slipping awa. There's me set upon the fire at the North House of Setter, lang lived and spent. Birds streaching to me belt. There's been mony a turning in the tide, for we set were fit up a dry land at Heller. The oldest boy first met upon the clippers. We're merry biting in Waddersty with a screed of birds, and Jimsy still working sheep at the Setter Hill, his Ina keeping house and him, and me bonny Annie lang since been to her maker. Even here, I feel the cold climbing up me legs, and the point of me fingers lost all feeling. I shout to Ina to stoke the fire, to bank up the grate with pit after pit. For all it's low, I canna shack the starvation. Fitful, I slip in and out to sleep, dreaming. I'm stood there up at the deck of the Diana. Her masts ringing like new, yawning away with the skipper and the boatswain, saying it's a fine southerly breeze, good sailing weather, and the sails are going blacker of the wind. With that Sam, me bonny Annie comes out of the forecastle, as fine a smile as I'm seen, lighting up her face, and her blue wing shearing, saying, "Come do, Jimmy, it's time to slip at the rocks." Thank you, Verns. I think we'll do another song from the maestro himself, Mr. Doll Vandal.
strike that the first tune I'm going to play, I'm just going to do one song, but before that I'm going to do a very old-fashioned instrumental from China. Those of you that have been around folk clubs and things like that will know what's coming next. It's a traditional Chinese piece called Qineng. So thank you very much, and thank you to James for asking me to play. He also said you can sing what you like, which makes a really nice change. When it's not the first time I've found myself in such a situation, I've been very honoured to sing at somebody's book launch or in some best event that involves books and writing. But usually I'm singing stuff that I don't really know, so it's nice to get the chance to actually sing something that you do know. And I was just thinking of the next song I'm going to sing. The other thing is, of course, I knew tonight that I was going to do okay because what James and Barbara were going to do were going to be Lightsome. And that, therefore, it would leave me free rein to be the usual miserable self.
Oh no!
But I think I've been okay though. I think I've been kind. I have chosen some of my least miserable material. So if you think this is not cheerful, then you probably haven't heard some of the rest of my work as well. Mary at the back is nodding her head. And so yeah, and I was just thinking, it's nice, sometimes I remember the words of, sometimes I remember the words of my own songs. But I was thinking I was going to sing this song, I'm going to sing now, and I was sitting at the back thinking, right, trying to remember the words. How was it going? And there was little gaps, and it reminded me many years ago when some of you maybe remember the Lyric Folk and Blues club, and we used to have people nodding. There was various places we moved around. Every time you moved to a new venue, you get a great crowd for the first 3 months, and the crowd would go back and we would change venue. And it was one night I was sitting. I was about to be going on, and I had decided I was going to sing this song. And it was the day before I'd written many songs myself, so I was going to sing this song by Johnny Mitchell. But can't even remember which one it was now. Anyway, Urge for Going, I think it was called Urge for Leaving, Urge for Going, and a beautiful song. But I couldn't remember the first line of the third verse, and I was sitting there thinking, Christ, so I decided, I just completely blanked on that line. So I made up my own line to fill the gap. And I went and sang the song, and I got to verse 3, and just as I was about to sing the line I just made up, the right line came into my head, and I completely bugged the whole thing. So I decided not to make up any new lines for this song in the hope that the real lines would come to me as I was singing. But if you hear me going do-do-do-do or anything like that, you know that I've actually forgotten the words. Apparently there's an apocryphal, possibly apocryphal story about Louis Armstrong inventing scat singing, because in these days if you got the words wrong when you were singing the song, you get sacked. And apparently the story goes that he was there in the studio and they've got everybody playing at once, and there's one microphone and the singer's at the front, and there he was, Satchmo, giving it whatever it was, and then he forgets the words, so he starts going, or he did it much better than I did. Yeah, okay, I'll stop talking now. Let's sing the song. Sitting alone in the crowd in the dark, the singer on the bright scene. My mind wanders to a place where I'm missing you. Then I think of you. I wish you were living too. And then I went and bloody forgot the line. I'd say it hurts a lot less. Miss somebody you never knew. Dead in the wardrobe of a motel room, you'll hear the gallows in the road. But you got tired of always having to run in ghosts and try to reach your train. Just a short drunk out of the blue. Enough is enough, long enough for you. Reported fact, never felt the pain. A body can hardly carry, a body will not let go. You had a hellfire of angels, so I set you burn without. Your life is a march to glory, dressed up as a drunken fall. Out of the blue, enough is enough, never enough for you. When thin, the lone Highlander stands, far above the reality. Illusion stone breathes out upon a changed land, cannot see. The mist is real. Cold as the sands, heavy and hard around. Narrow, nearly fair cloud round. Even the ghosts gag against speaking pain. A body can hardly carry, a body will not let go.
Yeah, probably leaves me to, is it okay? Probably leaves me to say thanks very much then, unless you're wanting to do any more turns or anything. Encores, anything like that. I'd just like to thank you all very much for coming. Congratulations, James, on the new book. Thanks very much for reading tonight. Thank you very much, Barbara and Doll, also. James is doing a signing of his books tomorrow here at the library, and it's from 3 to 5 o'clock. And in the interests of COVID safety, you're meant to have good ventilation, so we're probably going to have him outside, enjoying the fresh air. so it's fine forecast though. So yeah, do come along tomorrow, get, especially the Facebook folk, come along and get your book signed and meet the author again. Thanks very much, everybody. Cheers.